Homecoming. In the poem, Homecoming, by Lenrie Peters, the poet expresses the feeling of disappointment of returning to an old home that the speaker has left for a long time. While homecoming is supposed to be a time for celebration and grounding, where those who return home look forward to getting back a sense of familiarity and regularity, the speaker was met with an unwelcoming, difficult and unexpected reality. There is an absence of opportunity, fulfillment and prosperity due to the poverty of the speaker's home. The poem is filled with nostalgia and disappointment, which is accompanied by the semantic fields of time with new life and fertility. The poet here explores the value of the present and how it takes over past memories. With the opening line, "The present reigned supreme," Peters immediately establishes a sense of carelessness and regret as the speaker. Personified time is shown as a dominant force that does not allow us to look forward or over our shoulders, but this reflects the habit we all have of focusing on the here and now. The verb, reigned, provides a sense of authority to the subject, the present. This expresses the lack of recognition or reverence for the past, which contradicts with the next following line. The phrase, reigned supreme, highlights the speaker's excitement upon returning to his old home, presenting a sense of pride. While the first line displays how the present can dominate one's focus, the poet suggests that the past often becomes a crucial part of our identity with the simile, like the shallow floods over the gutters. The adjective, supreme, connotes a sense of superiority and authority, which is contrasted by the adjective, shallow. The fact that the present is shallow implies how it has no great importance and the past is still easy to be seen under the influence of the present. The noun, gutters, connotes a place for filth and waste, hinting that there is no improvement in the present compared to the past. The simile of water is a natural image to highlight the abundance of natural resources, which suggest that time, including the present, continues to flow, highlighting the continuity of time and the ongoing change. Indeed, even the present is emphasized as transitory. Its reign is referred to in the past tense, reigned, and it is shallow, rather than deep. Water is also a fitting image, as it suggests that time, including the present, continues to flow. In the following line, over the raw paths where we had been, the raw paths suggest a feeling of neglect, as it connotes the idea of breaking down, worn, and the lack of human touch. Here it represents the past that is not often mentioned or talked about, but still influential to the way the speaker behaves in the present. The plural pronoun, we, hints at the universality of the experience. As it is a collective experience for Africans who sought education around the world to bring back to enrich their communities, as the poet Lenrie Peters himself is part of them. The adjective, raw, suggests poverty and rural upbringing, which is now taken over by houses and infrastructure. A sense of familiarity to the past is shown with the present perfect tense, have been, suggesting a preference for the past over the present. It is further established with the line, the house with the shutters. The poet's use of diction of the noun, shutters, highlights the rejection of reality from the past, suggesting a negative feeling towards new changes in the speaker's home. It also sets an unwelcoming tone towards the poetic voice, as if the speaker is not welcome to return to his home, which is the opposite of the meaning of the title, homecoming. The seeming suddenness of change is also emphasized in the poem. In the second stanza, the speaker shifts their focus to the reality of returning to his home. With the line, "Too strange the sudden change," Peters reflects the unnerving difference between living abroad and at home. Through the use of sibilants, the poet highlights the displacement of the speaker of living in both places, as it provides a feeling of being removed and cut off in his past. The internal rhyme, strange, and change, attracts the reader's attention and emphasizes the unfamiliarity of his hometown due to the sudden change. It also happens before one has time to ensure that one's memories are properly arranged. Peters uses a series of prolonged vowel sounds to emphasize the melancholy of losing a connection to the past. The poet's implication is that people usually do not notice the passing of time, so that when we occasionally do, it seems to have passed suddenly. Also, Peters refers to his memories of his home as time we buried, as the verb, buried, connotes death and loss. The poet implies that his past is dead. The fact that the times are buried when the speaker left suggests he was aware that the recognition of his nostalgia would be gone the moment he leaves the country. The poet establishes a regretful and nostalgic tone with the two following lines: "The time before we had properly arranged, the memories that we kept." It highlights the importance of his memories while by moving away, he removed himself from it. The sense of disconnect from the speaker's past is reflected with the line, "Our sapless roots have fed." The poet uses the first-person plural pronoun, our, to show that it is a common experience. Using a metaphor with the phrase, sapless roots, Peters highlights his lack of connection to the past that used to be rooted in his memory. The use of the verb, fed, creates irony here since, sap, carries nutrients, but by not doing anything, sapless, they have brought about these changes, suggesting a sense of self-blame. The next line, wind-swept seedlings of another age, suggests that their brief abandonment of their country allows it to be taken over by others as the noun, seedlings, connotes a new beginning and change, which will be replaced by the sapless roots. In the fourth stanza, the speaker returns to the idea that time is constantly moving. He says that the house that he used to occupy is now inhabited by new skeletons. This is a metaphorical reference to the living people in the house. By referring to them as skeletons, the speaker is alluding to their inevitable mortality. They too will be skeletons one day, just like all those that have passed before them. Through his use of language, Peters creates a semantic field of plants, roots, and weeds, suggesting that the roots of the speaker and his family were ultimately gone, not resulting in anything but have provided the source for further weeds that have grown up in their place. His feelings about these weeds are ambiguous. Then, he describes those who now live in the house his family once owned as skeletons, and remarks upon the house's closeness to a burial ground. Peters also describes it as casting no shadow, perhaps reflecting the idea that the family has not left a mark on the place they came from as the speaker may have hoped they had. The poem uses recurrent death images to suggest the uncanniness or eeriness of trying to return to the past. The uncanny, according to Freud, is that part of life we try to hide from ourselves, especially the reality of death. In this poem, images associated with dying to appear repeatedly: buried, burial, skeletons, and shadows. Returning home is, for the speaker, an eerie reminder that life moves on and people die. In the final stanza, the speaker suggests that the feeling of nostalgia is inevitably disappointing. The line, "That is all that is left, to greet us on the homecoming," is monosyllabic, harsh and short. Sounds reflect the speaker's shock and self-hate for letting this happen. "All that is left" highlights what was lost. This is tragic and devastating to all that left. The adjective greet is sarcastic. The speaker is bitter about their naivety. The word homecoming is broken by hyphens that are different from the title, suggesting that the speaker is broken-hearted from the state of his country. Although the speaker has returned to the home he used to live in, the positive feelings that he was expecting to feel again have eluded him. Time has changed, and the house that used to be his home is his home no longer. In conclusion, the poem, Homecoming, conveys Peters' and many others' feeling of longing to return one's home, only to discover the emptiness it holds. Through this poem, the poet expresses his reflection of nostalgia and ultimately concludes with the inclination to the romanticization of the past.